and you are not matured enough to go out and live in completely different world. It's for those who wish to pursue education and want to be independent.
Wow, such a great thought. You know, after hearing this, I really feel I'm blessed to have everything. Acha, what next? You visited Kamshit. Was it through Sinhgad Institute of Technology ACM Student Chapter?
Yes, it was organized through Sinhgad Institute of Technology ACM Student Chapter. And it was for very first time when I met those girls. They are welcoming and talented. Oh, I feel nostalgic. Me along with Mansi Sharma and Tanuja presented some yogasanas and warm-up exercises which are good for health and are expected to be done on daily basis. And Pranav, this is what satisfaction actually means to me. पहिला श्वास म्हणजे दोघे जण आला तुम्ही आणि आम्हाला वाटलं एकच गेला की आज संडे आणि संडे म्हणल्यानंतर आराम करायचा योग्यच येतात वाटत असेल ना वाटलं पण नाही आता वाटतंय की 5 मिनिटं झाले मला पण खूप एन्जॉय केला आणि एका निराधार संघाकडून थँक्यू सो मच परत या थँक्यू मोस्ट थँक्यू आमच्यासाठी तुम्ही एवढा अमूल्य वेळ दिलात आम्हाला खूप छान वाटलं तुमचा अमूल्य वेळ तुम्ही आम्हाला तुमचा अमूल्य वेळ आम्हाला दिला थँक्यू आणि योगासन आसन जे आम्हाला माहिती नव्हतं ते योगासन तुम्ही आम्हाला शिकलात त्यामुळे ते आम्ही डेली करू असा
Incident and perfect example for satisfaction. Will you please tell me what ACM Student Chapter is all about? What is your position and how can I join this chapter?
Hold on. So many questions. It's Sinhgad Institute of Technology ACM Student Chapter, working under Computer Department, and ACM stands for Association of Computer and Machinery, which is recognized globally. Here, we organize various activities related to education, programming, and many more. Adding to it, it is more research based where we have access to digital library which include journals, magazines, and research papers. There are many more membership benefits. And about the position, I hold position of vice chair there. We have head of computer department, Dr. Babar sir, and under the guidance of Professor Madhuri Kumbhar ma'am, we organize various events.
So many things under single unit called Sinhgad Institute of Technology ACM Student Chapter. For sure, I am going to join it.
समाधान काय असतं? काल एकता निराधार संघासाठी सिंहगड इन्स्टिट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नॉलॉजी एसीएम स्टुडंट चॅप्टर द्वारे वेबिनार आयोजित करण्यात आला. आज मी एका सर्वसामान्य घरची मुलगी आहे. माझ्या आईबाबांनी मला पूर्ण स्वातंत्र्य दिलं आहे. बाहेर जाणे असो, मित्रमैत्रिणीसोबत फिरणे असो, नवीन कपडे किंवा व्यंजन खाणे असो, पण जे आंतरिक समाधान काल एकता निराधार संघाच्या मित्रमैत्रिणीसोबत मिळाला ना, तो अवर्णनीय होता. याआधी पण मी खूप काही कार्यक्रम मध्ये भाग घेतला, काही परीक्षा जिंकली सुद्धा. मात्र जो आनंद काल एकता निराधार संघाच्या मित्रमैत्रिणीसोबत मिळाला ना, तो अतुलनीय होता. खर तर समाधान या शब्दाचा अर्थ काल मला कळला. लपवायचं काय? माझ्या घरी खूप नखरे असतात. हे पाहिजे, ते पाहिजे, इथे फिरायचे, ते खायचे. पण परिस्थिती कसं समजून घ्यायची, काल एकता निराधार मैत्री मला शिकवलं. थँक्यू.
छोटस फक्त तुमच्यासाठी काहीतरी करायचं ट्राय केलं, कळलं नाही, पण जेवढं झालं तेवढं आणलंय आमच्याकडनं. किती
Everyone, please reply if the chat box is visible to you all or not. You can raise your hands if the chat box is visible. Thank you all. You can lower your hands now. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. I am Vaibhavi and I welcome you all to the inauguration ceremony of Android Development Workshop organized by the Computer Department in association with Sinhgad Institute of Technology's ACM Student Chapter. It is the International Association for the Computing Machineries. ACM brings together computing educators, researchers, and professionals to inspire dialogue, share resources, and address the field's challenges. ACM encourages growth in the computing community through its support of professional, student, and local special group interest chapters worldwide. I extend my warm welcome to our respected principal, Dr. M.S. Gaikwad sir, our mentor and guide, Mr. Vedprakash Wagh, who is an entrepreneur and an Android developer, Vice Principal, Dr. D.D. Chaudhary sir, our Head of Department, Dr. S.D.Babar sir, HODs of all departments, our Faculty Coordinator, Professor Madhuri Kumbhar ma'am, other faculty members, and all my dear fellow students. I welcome each one of you all for the inauguration ceremony. Over the past decade, smartphones have revolutionized our world. With the increasing users of Android smartphones, there comes the demand for Android developers. The pace of Android innovation has never been such greater. Different smartphones are being adopted globally at a fast pace, and Android has been a key player in this competition. Knowing this fact, here are we, Sinhgad Institute of Technology ACM Student Chapter, organizing a 5-day Android development workshop starting from today till 14th of February. Now I would like to introduce our mentor for this workshop, Mr. Vedprakash Wagh. Mr. Vedprakash is the founder of Droidr. He is an entrepreneur and a full stack developer, having 6+ years of experience in the Android development. His one of the app reached 500k plus downloads and has 4.5-star ratings on the Play Store. Combining of all of his passion for Android development, here is he sharing his knowledge and mentoring and guiding us for this 5 days roller coaster ride on Android development. Now I welcome the HOD of Computer Department, Dr. S.D.Babar sir, to welcome our guest and kindly address us. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible, beta?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, yeah. Very good afternoon to all. Today's chief guest and eminent speaker, Mr. Vedprakash Wagh, our proud alumni, respected principal sir, Dr. M.S. Gaikwad sir, vice principal sir, Dr. D.D. Chaudhary sir, our ACM Students Chapter coordinator, staff coordinator, Professor Madhuri Kumbhar ma'am, and the entire ACM students team. Very good afternoon to all. I'm feeling very honored that many events under ACM Student Chapter are being organized, and today also you people have organized a workshop on Android development. So definitely the eminent speaker will guide more, and all the participants will definitely be satisfied throughout the workshop. I once again thank and appreciate the entire ACM Students Chapter for organizing the Android development workshop. And mostly, I would like to thank Mr. Vedprakash Wagh for accepting our invitation and sparing his valuable time. We also know that he is almost a great entrepreneur, and his schedule is very busy. In spite of that, he has spared his time and accepted our invitation. So thank you, Prakash, once again. And once again, I would like to wish all the participants that please utilize all the sessions. Keep the entire sessions interactive. Whatever queries, whatever problems related to Android development you have, make sure that during this workshop all the doubts are clear. Okay, so once again, best wishes for the entire workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Before starting the session, I would like to tell you all that we got our registrations from various engineering colleges all over Maharashtra and also from various states. Thank you so much, participants, for your overwhelming responses. Here's a short instruction for all the participants. We will be sending a feedback form for each day of the workshop at the end of the session. So I request everyone to kindly fill the feedback form for 5 days to avail the certificate of the workshop. Participants, kindly wait for few minutes. The session will be starting soon. Vedprakash sir, we can start the session with after 10 minutes, okay? Participants kindly wait for a few minutes. We will start the session at 4:30 sharp.
So hello everybody, I'm Vedprakash. I hope you guys are able to hear me properly. Let me know, like you can raise your hand if you're able to hear me. Hello, nice. Okay, so it's working. Good. So the thing is, I have been, working as an app developer for since I left college, basically, and I also had my apps published before, my college actually ended. So I have been developing for Android since the second year of my college, and so it's been around 6 years, I would say. So yeah, so today we'll be seeing from today we'll be seeing actually a lot of things, and there's actually, I would say, a bad news in a sense that this syllabus that you see here is like vast. It's really huge. So I hope, like when I actually was approached to do this, I actually told the teachers that the students that would be participating need to have at least a little bit of sense of programming in Java. So I hope you guys know development like at least the basics of Java programming, because Kotlin is basically just similar to, it's like a mixture of C++ and Java, I would say. So I would just be teaching you guys the basics today of Kotlin, and we'll be seeing how the interface of Android Studio and how you can navigate between different uh, different things in Android Studio, basically. So today we'll be seeing these two, and then later on tomorrow we'll brush up on this, and then the next 2 days I'll be going through this, and then marketing and monetization is something I think can be briefly explained. How I usually market my apps and monetize them. uh, I hope my English is clear to you guys. I I'm not sure if uh, you know you guys are able to understand me or not, like my English. But yeah, so that's basically it. So today we'll be going through, I'll be introducing you guys to Android Studio and how it works. Then we'll be going through some basics of Kotlin. We'll actually be using something called Kotlin compiler, which is Kotlin Playground, where you can compile the small Kotlin code. So you can just get familiarized with Kotlin. So the first thing that I would like to tell you guys is, whenever you look at these languages, like be it Java, be it Kotlin, or be it C++, there's like n number of languages. The first thing that you have to realize is that most of these languages, they are similar, like completely similar. The basics of how you code in them is completely similar. That is why you have these courses, like in your degree, like object oriented programming and all that. So if you learn just one language and the basics of it, you should be able to change syntax and then just migrate to a different language. So let's start with the introduction to Studio. I hope you guys have installed Studio? Like, you can raise your hands if you have, installed Studio and your Hello World program is running. Let me see how many of you guys have, done that. Because that was another thing that I told, because this seminar is already covering a lot of different topics. So I don't have the time to, just go through everybody's studio and then check, like if it is working or not. So if you have set up your Android Studio and if your Hello World program is running on your either phone or emulator, just like raise your hand. So I only see 11 people raising their hands, 12 now. Okay. You have to interact with me, guys. Like, this is a two-way street, it's not like, so there's like good number of people that have done that then. Good. So this is Android Studio. Okay, now it updated. So in left, you have this project panel, which you can disable just by clicking on it. So, you guys need to, I would say, stay with me here. Like, I hope you have opened your studio. I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes to open it, and then after you have opened it, you can. Let me see the chat. Actually, there seems to be something in chat. Okay. So, when you guys are done opening like your studio, let me know in, like, you can raise your hand after it's done. So I would know that your studio is opened. Okay, nice. You have until right now. It is 4:35. I'll start the next stuff at 4:37 after you guys have finished opening your studio. Because the thing is, this Android Studio is already very hard to navigate, and I need you guys to be familiar with how you should be like navigating around and finding different things. Okay, so still have 1 minute. Because the thing is, Android Studio is like a really heavy software, and it already takes a lot of time to actually get it working. That is why I'm giving like 2 or 3 minutes, because I know a lot of people don't have like really good laptops and stuff. So it takes quite like a little bit of time to just build the project and like those compile those dependencies and all that. Just a sec, let me mute. Okay, so I'm trying to like zoom in my editor. I didn't actually change. Thing is, normally when when I am doing this, it changes the font size when I use Control and scroll wheel up. But now it is somehow not doing that. Okay, so let me just use the 125%. Okay, so now I think it should be visible now. Okay, so let's start with the basics. If my screen is, I'm not sure what you mean by screen is not clear, because maybe it is an issue with your internet, probably, because like I have good internet. Like you should be like able to see it properly. Um, by what, like when you say your screen is not clear, what do you mean? Like, is the text not visible to you, or is it blurry for you? Because okay, so I actually increase the size of text now, like size of everything. And if it is blurry for you, I think it should be an issue with your internet. Because like if you actually see, like I have pretty good internet, like um, so it shouldn't be an issue with my internet. Okay, I'll actually change it to white. To yeah, I think I'll change appearance to uh, light, so it is much more visible, I would say. Okay, guys, if you're having trouble with screen, then it is most likely an issue with your internet. But I have changed the theme to white now, so it should be more visible. Uh, okay, so I'll start directly now. So what you see here is the main editor that you will be using to code your apps, to write your Java code. In left you have this panel. I hope you're able to see my cursor. So in left you have this project view where you're able to see your project files, right? So you can toggle this on and off. By default, I would say just keep it on, because this much window is enough for you guys to code in. But in case you have smaller screens like laptop and stuff, then you can close it like this. Then there are different views that you have to switch through when you do different things. Like for example, when you're setting up your Firebase, what you have to do is you have to add file directly inside your project. So when you right click on your app and you open in Explorer, what happens is it opens this directory. But most of the time you shouldn't be messing up directly with these files. Like you can do that, but I would generally advise not to. So what you do is you just go in here, click on this view, and then after that you click on project. So what it does is it shows you the directories as they're seen in your file system. So these two are the most used views. One is project view and another one is Android view. So Android view is the view where they hide files like, let's say, local dot dot gitigno or dot idea or dot cradle. These files are used internally by the studio. You don't need these files, like you need those, but you don't need to see them. That is where the Android view comes in, which is the default view. So this is the structure of your app. These are the files that are used in development. Then, so right now I'm not going to be explaining you what these files are. We are just going through Android Studio, the software itself, and not the files and stuff. So then you have something called emulator. Emulator is when you don't have an Android device, so you have to test your apps directly on a device that you created. So you're able to create an emulator using device manager. So the thing is they changed. You should like there's like two different types of device managers now. This is the new thing that they added. Like in this version of Android Studio, it is called Bumblebee. So this is the the version that I'm on. So in this version, what they did was they added this device manager directly inside Android Studio. So if you're on like an older version of the studio, then this should pop outside and not here. So this is device manager. It is also accessible from the right corner of your screen. You should be able to see device manager. When you click on it, you will see the emulators that you have created. So these emulators, they are just devices that you create to test your apps on different configurations. Now, when you work with Android, like right now, there's I believe 17 or like 20,000 different types of Android phones that you can get in market. And generally when you develop Android apps, you tend to just test your apps only on your own device. But the issue is that you don't get to you don't have different configurations. Like for example, there are things that Google does, like let's say, so Google changes these uh, you know these core features in Android every once in a while. Like for example, in Android 12, what they did was they changed an important function of services. Let me just search for okay, I'm not logged in here, but what they did was they disallowed being able to launch services in background without any interaction from the user. Let me actually close my windows. I'll be just closing my windows so all the airplane noise and stuff is not Okay, so what they did in Android 12 was you have these different things in Android that work together to like form a proper app. So services are things that run in background. So what they did in Android 12 was that you're not no longer able to launch services in background without touching your app. Unless and until the user touches something in your app, you're not able to launch the service, which broke a lot of apps. So when you let me actually just mute my phone. Okay, I should. So yeah, what you have to do is you have to create these emulators with different API versions so that you are able to test them, test your apps on them and things like that. So yeah, this is the device manager. Here you're able to create a device of your choice. It shows you different types of devices that you can create. For example, Pixel 5, there are different resolutions. You also have to think about the resolutions because apps look different on different resolutions basically, and this density. So even if the resolution itself is the same, but then the size is different, your app will look different. So that is why you have to create these different emulators to test them. You can also create emulators in case you're developing Android apps that are compatible with Android TV. Then you're able to create emulators of Android TV or watches or tablets or there are these Android devices in cars themselves, like Tesla has them, I believe. So you're able to create this hardware profiles uh, of different Android devices. It's pretty easy to set up. Like I'm not sure if I should show this now, but right now we're just going through different menus and stuff. So yeah, then there's different things. Now we already saw the project, so we'll go through we'll recap what we saw up until now. We saw project. Now project are the files that are of your Android Studio. Then there's this view of your project. There's an Android view which is used by default, and there is project view. Project view is the view where you're able to see the file system structure of your Android app. So these are all the files of your Android app. I'll switch it back to Android. Then the structure, it is not relevant now, so I'm not going to overload your mind with that. And then there are these build variants. Now, whenever you are developing, an app, what you generally do is you have different variants of the app. So there might be a variant which has ads in it, or another variant which is made for your test users. So for example, you're able to create these variants. By default there are two. One is debug and another one is release. So debug variant is the one where you're able to debug your app. So this is the variant where there are a lot of things to share actually, and I hope it doesn't get over your minds. But so debug is where you're able to see the output of your app in this logcat. So if your app crashes, you're able to see all the crashes here. But in case your app is released, okay, I just changed it to release for some reason. I shouldn't have. But yeah, when your app, you should be uploading your app in release variant. when you're uploading it anywhere, because release variant has something called, let me go into project, into my build.gradle. Now you will see here in Gradle file that there are two Gradle files actually. One is build.gradle, but this is project. Okay, remember that this is the project Gradle file, and this is of your module. So you have to click on the module one. So you're able to create these build variants. I just clicked here on build variant, and then I went here. You can see there's debug and there's release. So you're able to create these build variants from your build.gradle, right? Now this build.gradle file contains information about your of your module basically, you know. So in here you will see that there are different build types. You can see it's the same build variants or build types. It's just difference in, I would say, they're synonyms. So you will see that they have created a release build type, but there's no debug. We saw here that there's debug, but you can also do that. You're able to change, like, you know, create a debug like this, and then give properties to it. But I'm not going to do that now because it will just overload your, you know, mind. So yeah, so this in release, what you will see is that there is this tag called minify enabled. So what this minify enabled does is that there is a plugin in Android Studio called ProGuard, 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 right? So what this ProGuard does is that it obfuscates your code. By obfuscation, I mean it changes the changes your code basically, so that whenever someone tries to decompile your app, they are no longer able to see your source code directly. So, you know, if you, let's say this is your main activity, what ProGuard does is that it will rename this main activity to A, it will rename this onCreate function to C, and all your variables, so that it just, you know, obfuscates your code. It also adds different, you know, unnecessary functions in them. So yeah, so that is why there are two build variants. One is release and another one is debug. So whenever, if you try to run your app in release version, what happens is that ProGuard is enabled, right? Now here it should be true. I'm not sure why they did false there, but in release, this minify enabled is true. So what happens is whenever your app crashes, you're no longer able to get proper, crash report of your app. So that is why you have these different variants. So whenever you are testing your app, you know, bottom line is whenever you are testing your app, use debug. Whenever you want to release your app, use release variant. So that is the build variant. Now this run is where it shows you errors that are okay. Someone has a question. You can, if you have questions, you can ask them in chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask them. Someone raised their hand, so I believe it was Ame Pate. If you have a question, you can just unmute yourself and ask it. But yes, I'm also, my chat is also visible, like on my different laptop. So you can also type in your questions in chat if you have them. But yes, so there are these these different, you know, tools at the bottom. First one is run. This is where it will show you different, you know, things that you're doing. Okay, mic is disabled. Then you can just type in chat actually. Yeah, you can just type in chat. I was actually told that, okay, so you're able to add device. What do you mean? Okay, how to add device? Okay, so what you do is you go into device manager. I wanted to keep it at later date because right now I just want you guys to like get like familiar with Android Studio. I'll actually show you that like later how to add a device. But for now, just like let's go through all the things that are uh, you know uh, important right now, like like just getting to know the studio better. So in Run, you have these different things. Like most of them are useless, but whenever you are running your app, it will show whenever it's compiling your app if there are any errors and stuff like that. It will show you in this Run window. So there is that. This problems window contains like project errors or like the just warnings. Like for example, this version of library that I'm using right now, it is in yellow, like as you can see. So it is giving me like general heads up that you're not using the latest version. So this problems window just shows that. Statistics, I would say, I have never used this window, to be honest. Statistics in terminal, you're able to do ADB commands and all that. So the terminal, just think of it as command prompt, but you don't have to worry about going to your project. Like in command prompt, when you do run command, let's say, you know what you have to do is you have to cd to your project. Like you have to move to your project and then do things. But then this terminal directly goes on your project, and then you're able to run commands like adb install your app, whatever, right? So yeah, so terminal is basically just your command prompt, but it is right there. Yeah. Then this to do is the thing that is used in projects. Like the thing is, when you have something important, let's say there is a bug in your app, right? So let's say I created a function called add, which takes two integers, but then what I do is I return a minus b. Okay, so what it's doing is there is a bug in this code, right? So what you do is you do something like this. You do to do, and then you write there is a bug in this file. Make sure to fix it, right? So this to do is used. Then it will show you that there is a to do in this place that you need to look at, that you have to fix basically. And what happens is when you have these to do items in here, it doesn't let you compile the code, like not compile but build the app when you have these. Like it doesn't let you build, I guess, release variant, because in release you don't want any to dos or bugs. So yeah, this to do is just an overview of different things that you think you need to do in future, you need to look at. So yeah, then there is this build. Build is the thing that shows uh, you know different errors, like if there is an issue with your Gradle script. Now Gradle is the thing that is like uh, the base, not the base, but the thing that is used to build Android apps. Like it just brings everything together and it makes an app. It's just like the simplest explanation I can think of. So Gradle, this build will show all the things that happen. Like you'll actually see this in future. Then logcat is something. This is the most important thing that you'll be using. This window called logcat. So this logcat is the thing where you actually see the logs that your device is producing. So if I run, what I'll do now is I'll go into, I will actually see, like, as the other person, one person asked that he wanted to see how to create device. What I'll do now is I'll go ahead. Okay, no, I'll actually do that later. But just for now, I'll just give you a brief overview. So logcat is something that shows you the. Okay, for now, I'll just run this device and then show you, actually, just so that you guys are aware. So this is my emulator. I'm running it now. Okay, so as you can see, this logcat, it shows, it has different, these drop downs and boxes. So here you'll be able to see different devices that are connected. In this left corner, you will see that right now it is showing emulator Pixel 4 API 30. So this is the window that it is showing. The thing is, I think the audio on the Zoom is a bit further of what I'm doing on my PC. So I'm just like watching it right now on my laptop too. But yes, so this emulator, this is the list of all the devices that are on. I'll also, uh, and then these are the apps that are running right now. These are the debug apps. Now I told you that, you know, in order to see this logcat properly, you need a debug app. So right now, this is the list of apps that is running right now. Then these are the different types of logs that you post with your uh, your app. So let's say I was to create a log. So there's a simple way to create a log. What you do is you do log dot. Let's say if you want to create an error, right? So this is just a way to like filter out the different logs. So let's say you wanted to log an error. What you will do is you will do like this. I actually have to import this. So just like this is not like a coding right now. I'm just trying to show you how you can do, like, how you can use logcat. So I'll give it a tag, let's say main activity, and then I'll post an error log with message. This is an error log. Okay. Now I run this app. What it will do is it will actually, after running, it will show this error in red color because it is an error, right? So what it did was it said log.e main activity, right? Main activity, and then the message in front of it. This is an error log because I filtered using error, right? So this is the most used window in most like in your Android development. So you have to get familiar with this logcat because your apps, most of the times apps crash and you have to see what actually crashed. So this is the window that you have to like just keep in mind. So I'll go back to verbose. Verbose just shows everything, like errors, like for example this errors that it showed, or debug logs and all that. So this is logcat. Then there is this profiler. So profiler is something that you use to profile your app. By profiling, I mean you're able to see how much memory your app is using, how much battery your app is using, or like you can see here, actually, it shows your CPU usage of your app, the memory usage of your app. If your app is using network or internet, it will show the internet activity here. Like right now, it is not using any internet because there is no internet permission added in app. And then energy. Energy is just the amount of battery that your app is using, right? So if you click on this, for example, CPU, it will show you that it is using this thread. It is using like how many threads are running, how much CPU it is using. For example, in here, it used 3% or 8% of CPU, 9%. Right now it is idle. It is using like 0 to 1%. This is used when you want to just profile how much performance impact your app is having on a device. Then in this corner you will see that you are also able to change these windows. Like you can go into memory. Now this memory window is used to profile how much uh, this is you're actually able to slide it down. This is how it is most of the time. So there's things like memory leaks, like these concepts that I'll actually teach you later. But this for now, all you need to understand is there are these things called memory leaks, where some of the things, like some of the objects that you create in Android, are not garbage collected, and then they leak their memory, and then they just keep on using memory, and the memory is never cleared. What happens is this chart, it goes on like this, from like this, like an airplane, so it will use like a gigabyte of memory and stuff like that. I mean, your apps can't use that much memory, but I'm just saying, like, the memory is never cleared. And then right now, as you can see, there is no memory leak. The line is perfectly straight, like it goes like this, not like this, because there is no memory leak. All the objects are being used properly, and they are being garbage collected. So this is the memory view. Then there is energy view. Now energy view will just show you how much energy your app is using, how much battery your app is using. Like for example, it is showing like location in here. There is wake logs, there's alarms and jobs, right? So location is the thing that uses, I would say, the most amount of battery. Not just the location. I mean, like most of the things in mobiles use a lot of battery, even like wake logs and alarms and things like that. So yeah, so profiler, you use this window, then you have to actually stop the profiling session. So just click on this stop button, so that it is not recording the profiling in background. So, and then you also have to delete the session after that. So profiler is something you use to profile your Android app. And app inspection, it is just a way to, like, there are different things in Android that work together. As I told you, there are databases, there is internet, there is background tasks or services or jobs. So in here you're able to inspect your application. So database inspector is the thing that lets you inspect the SQLite database that you create in your app. So if we had a database, it will actually show here the table names, the data that is inside those tables. I can actually, that project is not here to actually. This network inspector, it shows you how much internet your app is using. So if it was using, like it was downloading something, it will show like 1 Mbps, 2 Mbps. Like you can see in like, in here, like it shows received and sent. Then there is background task inspectors. As I told you, there are like different jobs, alarms, different workers, services, and things like that. And you have to monitor. As I told you, Google is, when you upload your app on Play Store, Google actually checks how much battery your app is using. So if your app is using a lot of battery in background, what they will do is they'll review your app personally, and then they'll see that your app is using this much battery, and depending on that, they'll actually either like remove your app from Play Store, or like just like remove your app basically. Just like they'll say, you just like get the freak off the Play Store, like we don't want to hear. So yeah, so you have to take care of a lot of things here. So that is one thing. I'll stop the inspectors actually because I don't need it running background. So yeah, so let's recap it once again. You have this project view in top right, which lets you switch between Android view and project view, right? Project view is the view where it shows you the file systems directly, whereas Android view, you are easily able to navigate between different classes of your app. Like if you go into project view, basically what you have to do is, in order to navigate, you have to do all this, all this, you have to expand all these windows and all that, and it is not really easy. That is why you have this Android view, which lets you just directly, go into main activity, or either like go into resources and stuff like that. Then you have something called resource manager. Okay, I didn't tell you about this, but resource manager is something like like most of the time you don't need this window. I mean, you don't need it at all, to be honest. So resource manager is just, it just shows you visually what resources your app has. Now, most of the apps have, these. Now it says Java here. Actually, there's an important thing that you need to know. Kotlin. We are actually doing this Kotlin. Now this code is in Kotlin. Like, don't forget that. But the thing is, Google. Like, if you did not know, Google had this lawsuit by Oracle, from Oracle. Like the Oracle was demanding some money for use for Google from Google for using Java. So what Google did was they said, no, we are not paying you. It is an open source and stuff like that. And then they said, we'll just create a new language. So they created Kotlin, and then Kotlin actually runs on JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So Kotlin is compatible, like completely compatible with Java. So you can write, you can create a new Java class or Kotlin class in one project, and it will still compile because it's just Google just made it that way that you're able to use both the languages at once. So we are actually coding it in Kotlin, but it says Java here because yeah, because Android still, I believe, runs on yes, Pimpalgaon. Chinmay, you should actually go for Kotlin because Kotlin, Google made it so that Kotlin is actually really beautiful language to code with. If you actually, when you start coding with Android, you will realize that uh, Kotlin is so beautiful. I'm just like in love with Kotlin, to be honest. Uh, like Java, you'll just be like, no, I don't want to code in Java once you start with Kotlin. But yeah, right now, if you're learning Android, you should actually just go for Kotlin instead of Java because Google is actually not doing, I believe, not supporting Java from now on or something like that. I'm not actually sure. Yeah, and that there's also this new paradigm that is coming to Android. So right now you're seeing like there's like you have to use XML with Android and Java. But what Google is doing is it is creating something called Compose. I believe it is called. And Compose is the thing where you are able to create your apps completely in Kotlin. So you don't need to have these layout files and things like that to be able to code in Android. But it's still a long way through, and like it will be years before the Compose actually takes over the usual way of creating Android apps. So yes, project view. Then there is project window. In that we have Android. Then there is project. Then we have resource manager, which only shows resources, but visually. So as you can see, there's this drawable, which is showing right now. There are colors. It shows colors here. Colors are in values. So it will show, like, for example, purple 200. It will show purple 200. So you will be, most of the time you will not be using resource manager. Nobody uses resource manager. If you're competent enough, you don't need resource manager. This is all you need. This is much faster. Then there's layout and all that. Then there's this build variant. Build variant is thing that you use to create different variants of your app. So debug variant is the one you should be using to test your app, because the code isn't obfuscated in debug, although you can obfuscate the code in debug also. But then there are different things, like, I can explain a lot of things, but there are different certificates to Android apps that you need to have. Like, for example, your debug app can have a different certificate. Your release app can have different certificate. These certificates are used to verify your apps. So if you have a certificate that you created you used to upload an app on Play Store, you need to keep that certificate with you forever, because you won't be able to upload another update to your app if you don't have that certificate. So I'll show you everything, like that is why the course is for. But for now, just remember that the basic thing is that use debug variant to test your app, whereas use release variant to release your app. Then there is this run window, which shows you different things, like that are happening at runtime. Then there's this problems windows, which shows the general warnings in, like, either in current file or in project. Now I believe in project it will show you in current file. Let's say there's an issue with this one, right? So this problems window will show you that this window, this library is not updated. So you have to update it, something like that, right? So it is showing you a newer version of this library is available. So right now we are using 1.3.0, whereas the available one is 1.4.1. Okay, you want me to speak in Hindi? Then so actually the thing is I don't speak a lot of Hindi, but let's see. तो ये जो भी वेरिएंट्स है, ये प्रॉब्लम्स विंडो जो है, उसमें ये लोग आपको बताते हैं कि नया वर्जन अवेलेबल, like for example there was an error. Let's say I made an error, right? मैंने इस फाइल में एरर किया, समझो. अभी let's say जैसे हमने फंक्शन क्रिएट किया, like let's मैंने कुछ तो, okay, I'll just actually speak in English, because I don't speak a lot of Hindi, so it is kind of getting confusing for me. So when you create, like, some error, or if there's a warning or there's an error, this problems window will show you that there's an issue in this line, and it will you can just go to that file, that line. Then you have the statistic window. I have never used this actually, so I don't know what it is. There's this terminal. Terminal is basically the command prompt. Like just command prompt. Just think of this as command prompt. Like you're able to do CD and all that thing. Like then there is this to-do window. To-do window shows you the things that you need to do. You need to remember before you do things. Like for example, as you can see, I created a to-do here. Do this, right? So it will show you all the to-dos from your files. You can even create to-dos in, like, here in XML files, and it will show that, like, let's say I'm not sure how to comment. So okay, so that is how the syntax of comment is. Then so let's say I do to do like this, right? And it will also show you that to do which layout file contains bugs. So what it will do is it will show you that to do and the file right here, right? So to do is something that you need to remember before you can proceed, I would say, with building your app or releasing it. So I'll remove these to dos. Then there is this build window which shows you different information about the things that you're building. Build analyzer is something that you use to I'll go through this when we actually build the app. But yeah, build window is something that you use to okay, so I'm just trying to go through all the things. That is why I said the thing is I actually wanted more time to do things. 4 days is very less time to learn Android. But yeah, so build window is something that you use to build the Android apps. Logcat is something that you use a lot while to access the logs. Profiler you use to profile your Android app, to see how much battery your app is using, to see how much memory your app is using, to see how much CPU your app is using. App inspection is the thing that you use to inspect your background processes or your databases or your network. So yeah, so this is just a brief overview of Android Studio. Now we'll actually create an emulator. So follow with me. If you, I believe your Android Studio must be open now already. So what you do is you'll go into device manager at first. डिवाइस मैनेजर के ऊपर क्लिक कीजिए सबसे पहले, तो आपके पास ये विंडो ओपन हो जाएगी. मैं सबसे लेटेस्ट वर्जन यूज कर रहा हूँ एंड्रॉयड स्टूडियो का. सो इफ यू आर ऑन, तो अगर तुम लोग पुराने वर्जन पे हो एंड्रॉयड स्टूडियो के, तो ये जो विंडो है ये आपको बाहर दिखेगी, ये ऐसे स्टूडियो के अंदर नहीं दिखेगी. उसके बाद क्रिएट डिवाइस, इसके ऊपर जब आप क्लिक करेंगे तो आप ये विंडो ओपन हो जाएगी. Okay, so I just realized that we have some students from Tamil Nadu also. So I can't actually just use Hindi. So English is like I should actually speak English because I believe Tamil Nadu students cannot understand Hindi, like some of them actually. But yeah, so you have to create a device. It will open up a new window. For now, we'll create, so like you can see that there's this icon called with Play Store icon on it, What is this? So this is actually an emulator which has Google's APIs. So when you create an emulator without the Play Store icon, what will happen is that emulator will not have Play Store installed in it. So not just Play Store, but all the other Google services. So for now, select the emulator which has Play Store icon on it. So I'm selecting Pixel 4 for now. And then you can also create a new hardware profile of your choice. But this I'll skip for now because it is already getting overloading, because this is like a lot of things that you need to learn in less amount of time. when you click on next, when you select the emulator and you click on next, you will see that there are different versions of Android that it's showing. So by default it will show you recommended versions, but you can also click on x86 and you can see there are also other systems that you can use on the emulator. The latest one is 32. So like most of the time I recommend people to use the latest versions, but for now we'll go with Android R, which is API level 30. Then click on next. Then it will show you what you're trying to name your device. So I'll say AVD name. Let's say seminar for now. Then you can't change this right now because you already selected the device window and the system. Then there is this option called startup orientation. This doesn't matter much because you can change this orientation after the device is created. So there are two types of orientations. One is straight, other one is portrait, like landscape, like this. So for now, just choose portrait, and then enable device frame. What this does is that it will, like for example, like when you have a phone, uh, there's this window, right? Like this design. So if you uncheck this box, what it will do is it will only show you the insides, the screenshot, right? But when you enable device frame, it will show you the frame itself. Like for example, this is a phone. It will show you like a phone image, and then inside of it the content. So I recommend just keeping it checked because it doesn't hurt. Then click on finish. Then it will create the virtual device, and then it will show you in the list of your devices. It is a straightforward process. All you do is go in here up top. I'll explain all these other windows later on because it is already getting a lot, I would say too much to like handle, and like I don't want to just bore you guys with all the details of like what's in tools, what's in build, and all that. But this is the thing where you select and run your emulators. Go into device manager, then select the device, like for example create device. Now there's also this thing, right? Like in device manager you will see there's virtual, and like if you're on latest version, they added this thing called virtual and physical. So physical one is the one where you're able to test your code directly on your phone. So if your phone is connected using a cable, it will show you here. You're also able to use pair using Wi-Fi, so you don't need the cable to like just go run your apps on your phone. But even this is an option. So virtual device and then physical device, right? Virtual is your emulators. Physical one is your uh, your phone, the one that you have. Then you can click on this run button to launch the device. I'll actually run this. So when you click on run button, it will only run the emulator. So this is my old emulator and this is the new one. I'll minimize this one for now. So when you create a new device like this, it will actually take a little bit of time to warm up because it is actually loading the full system in. So if it takes time for you, it is completely normal. But I have a really good PC, that is why it doesn't take a lot of time. So yeah. So this is the emulator. Now, if you want to run your app on emulator, what you do is you go on run, either on run here and then run, or like run app, or you click on this button, right? So when you click on this button, what it will do is it will compile this app and then install it on your, like right now it is the seminar device is selected, so it will run on seminar 1. I believe this is the old emulator that I have. This is the new one. Okay, so this is the new one actually. So yeah, this is like a brief overview of Android Studio. So I hope, like, if you have any questions. No, there's no reason actually, Ame. I have to upgrade them anyways. But like that's what Android Studio created for me, right? That is why I was using them. Let me delete. So I deleted my old emulator because I already have this one set up. So I'll actually upgrade my dependencies to latest one. All you do is you hover onto. So Kiran, why aren't you able to like create device? What is the error that you're facing? If you're unable to create device, you can also just plug in your phone, and then you'll be able to see, like, you have to actually enable debugging and all that on your phone. But yeah, like for now, I'll just upgrade my dependencies as someone told me. All you do is hover onto the dependency, and then it will show you a change to 2.1.3. I just do that, and then I click on sync now. It will sync. But yeah, so if you have any questions, just ask them. Now, Kiran asked me he's not able to create a device, but I don't have more info, like what error it is showing, what, you know, like issue he's facing. Because you actually have to, I would say, like look at the error to, like, you know, try to fix it before you try to fix it. But yeah. Okay, so it's showing downloading. So the thing is, you don't have the latest version. Like if you go in here in device manager, when you're creating device, like like for example, you're creating Pixel 2, and you selected like, you know, you can see here there are different systems, right? Now it is showing download. Yeah, yeah. So Nivrutti is right. Bhagwat Nivrutti Mutte is right actually, because you actually need to download these dependencies, these the system images. So I selected R because it was already downloaded. But let's say if I select the latest one, right? So it will start download. It is okay, Bhagwat. Yeah. Uh, so as you can see, it is downloading. It is 1.3 GB for me. Chinmay, yeah, for 8 GB is okay. RAM size, I would say, doesn't matter that much, as long as the thing is, only emulator is the thing that uses most amount of RAM. So if you use physical device, RAM size shouldn't be an issue. But as you can see, this is 1.3 GB. Like 1.1 GB is already downloaded. I'll even show you this because like the internet is already good with me. So it will like decompress those files, and then it will, yeah, it is unzipping now, and then it will start installing. No, it is not, Bhagwat, it is not mandatory to use emulator. You can use your phone. The thing is, I don't have Android. I use like an iPhone. So I don't like have like a way to show you guys the steps to how to turn on the debug mode on Android. not debug mode, but the developer mode. So I need to see actually. Okay, so I'll actually show you guys how to do that. So if you have a physical device with you, Android phone, what you have to do is go in here, right? So I'm showing it on my emulator right now. Then swipe down, like go into settings. If you want to like run your app on your Android phone, okay, so go into settings, swipe all the way to about, wherever your about section is. Then after that, what you have to do is you have to go and see uh, the I would say, what is this text called build or build number or whatever. Then like click on it, right? Like when you like keep on tapping on it, like the thing is it is different on different phones. So this process varies on a mi device or a OnePlus phone or a Samsung phone, but this is the same. Like you need to see this uh, thing in about phone called build, right? And then you have to tap on it. So I'll tap on it, right? Now it will show you are like 4 steps away from the developer mode. Like you can see, you are 2 steps away. Just like keep on tapping it until it says the developer mode is enabled. So now it will show you are now a developer, right? So when this is done, a new thing should somewhere, like this also varies from system to system. So developer mode will be enabled, and then you'll be able to see the developer mode in, I believe, is say, like system, in at least in Google's system. On like just go ahead and I would say just search the settings for developer. If you search for developer, it should show you the developer options. So I believe you guys are following along with me, because this will be like useful. Like you have to do this anyways. So yeah, what you do is you go into about device. I'll repeat this again. I'll go into about device. Then in about info, you have to find out a text called build number, or anything that says build, just and then tap on it. And if you're not able to, like after like 10 or 15 taps, if you're unable to find this, like you are a developer thing, then just like tap on everything, right? Like just tap on like Bluetooth address, like uptime, your don't click on Android version because it will then bring up but yeah, so I think clicking on this one brings up the hidden games that Android has. I don't know what this is. But even clicking on this, I don't think it is possible. But yeah, just find out something called build number, and then keep on tapping on it until it eventually enables your developer mode. And then to access developer mode, you go ahead and search settings. It should show you something called developer options. Click on that. After that, what you have to do is enable USB debugging. So this USB debugging, this should be enabled. So it should be like that. When it is disabled, you will see that it should like vanish from here. It just vanished, right? But when you enable it, you should be able to see it like running in here. So yeah, I think the Pratik has like unmuted people, I think. So if you have any questions, I think you can unmute yourself and ask them. Or you can also type in chat if you have any questions. Because I hope you guys are able to like access this window, at least this developer options. I'm also seeing the chat directly. Like I'm also reading the chat in the side because I have like two computers. So if you have any questions, you can just answer, like ask them. Yeah, so you're able to unmute yourself. So you can also just ask me directly. Gradle plugin version, why do you need to upgrade it, Anjali? Because it is a very complicated process. So like I wouldn't advise you doing all that right now, because it is like complicated and very frustrating. Because the thing is, like I told you, different things work together in Android. So if some Gradle plugin is incompatible with this plugin, like for example this Kotlin plugin, let's say, it might just become incompatible with the Gradle version that you upgraded to. So just keep it as is, like don't try to upgrade your Gradle. Like even in in your production apps, don't try to do that, because you will break a lot of things and then it will be like my system specifications are, I have again not run. I have i9 10850K. It is a 10 core processor. Then I have GPU is RTX 3080 Ti. Then RAM is 32 GB. Let me see where I can see my specifications. About, yeah, so these are my specifications. i9 10850K, 32 GB of RAM. GPU is 3080 Ti. What else is there? Yeah, so that's like most of the specifications, I would say. So yeah, if you have any questions up until now, you can ask them, because I'll be starting with Kotlin now. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask them directly, or you can like type in chat and then ask them. I'll try to answer them. One thing that you guys need to remember, okay, if I use mobile instead of emulator, yes, Soham, it won't like boost your performance of PC, but it should make it easier for you to the thing is, if you like let's say if I go into task manager, you will see that the emulator right now isn't using a lot of memory, but then like most of the time emulator will be using like 4 GB 5 GBs and all that, so when you actually run it on your phone, nothing is running on your PC itself. So it will actually be much more faster to compile your apps if you use your physical device to compile your apps. And Bhagavad, the thing about like version control is like it's not something that I would take right now. I'll actually take it like maybe later. It is something that I believe is like a basic thing for most people. Yes, as I said before, like the thing is, you can use Java and Kotlin at the same time. So you can see here in like left corner, it actually says Java, but my code itself is in Kotlin, because Kotlin is completely compatible with Java. So, like for example, when you create, an integer, let's say, right, uh, which is in Kotlin, you write an integer like this. We'll be actually starting with Kotlin in a bit. Integer a equals to, let's say, 0. So what it does internally when you create an app, if you are running it on JVM, Java Virtual Machine, what it will do is it will automatically convert this a into the Java's int. Like Java uses an int, right? Small int. So yeah, it's just like it makes it compatible with Java basically. And you're also able to create, like, let's say, you're able to use Java classes along with Kotlin classes. So for now, I'll create a model class called, let's say, a car, right? Now, what I'll do is I'll create an integer a equals to 0, and I'll create a function. How do we create functions? The thing is, I haven't used Java in quite a while. So let me see if I can create a function in Java. Public void set a. Now this will actually set. I'm just trying to show you, like, don't like try to code with me here. I'm just trying to show you guys how you can do that. Integer new a, this dot a equals to new a, and then I'll say what is this? Okay. Get a, return a, right? So now the thing is, this class, as you can see, like the car class that I created is Java file, right? But it is coexisting with Shruti. It is supposed to be from 5 to 7. So at 7 p.m. it will be over. So as you can see, I'm using Java file and Kotlin file. You can see the icon here. Like it has like K icon because it is a Kotlin file. But whereas you can see here, it is car.java. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create this variable, right? Variable car equals to, like, don't try to just, I'm just trying to answer the question. Car.a, a equals to, let's say, 10, right? And then log.d car a dot a. String, we found an int, a toString. So we created a car variable. Now you can see it did not give me any errors because Java file and Kotlin file, like, you can use Java and Kotlin together at the same time. So if I run this on my Pixel, on my phone, on my emulator, you will see that it will print as you can see, it printed 10 because, like, initially the value was 0, but then I set the value to 10, and I just printed the new value, right? So you can see, no, Aryan, there is no need of Java in pure Kotlin app. It completely depends. The only thing about adding Kotlin in app is that it increases the size of your app by 400 or something KBs. But other than that, there is no, like, downside of using, like, yes, sometimes you might have to use Java, but then it is, the thing is, when you, like, for example, let's copy this code, right? Let's copy this code and paste it in Kotlin file, like this one. So when I paste it here, Android Studio directly asks me whether I want to convert the Java to Kotlin. If I say yes, it will just convert the code to Kotlin directly. So there is zero need of learning to create, learning like having knowledge of Java. But the thing is, it also depends on Java, right? The basics of Kotlin are the same as basics of Java. So you need to actually know, like the thing is, that was my first requirement before you attend, took this lecture, that you need to at least know Java in order to do this. So yeah, so for now, this is all. This is the basics of Android Studio, I would say, the editor IDE itself. So now we'll be actually moving towards Kotlin. So let me see how I can do this. I have this. So we'll be looking at Kotlin basics from now. It will be, I'll guess, an hour. So we'll start with data types. So this is the first requirement that I told, right? That you need to have proper knowledge of Java, because we will not be like going in depth with Kotlin, because if you look at the syllabus itself, this is a lot of things to learn. Like it would actually take like 10-15 days to actually show this, but we are trying to cover it in like 4 or 5 days basically. But yeah, so I'll be just giving you the basics of Kotlin, so that we can tomorrow we can get started on creating the apps directly. Like tomorrow we'll actually just directly start with this, and then learn about these things, right? Like you don't need to learn these separately, because these things keep on changing all the time. Because for example, work manager was not a thing. It is a recent thing that Google added in Android apps. So this can change anytime, these basics. But we'll just directly start with contacts clone tomorrow. Then day after tomorrow we'll go with we'll create a WhatsApp clone, and then an Instagram clone. But yeah, so today we'll just see Kotlin basics. So let's do that. I need to, let's see, is there any way for me to okay, so I have like adjusted my windows to, how do I just, okay, this is the window that's in focus. Okay, so like don't worry about the right side, it is just for me, so I can like stay on topic, I guess. But this is the important part, right? So I would say just search Kotlin playground, and then like open the first thing, like, or you can go play.kotlinlang.org. So when you go on this URL, it should automatically open the Kotlin editor. So I start with the basics first, which is, so like in Java, I believe there are different types of data, right? Like there is primitive, and there's, I believe, the thing is, I don't know the the theory behind Java, but in Kotlin you have numbers, and then you have the different, I would say, just that, like numbers is just like numbers, like the super class, I would say, of all the numbers, which has integers, and then there are floating point types. So in Kotlin, two types of numbers, like in most languages actually. One is integers, which are like whole numbers, which don't have the point in them, like the what is that? What is it called? Like for example, this dot, it doesn't have them, right? Integers, whereas floating point types have the dot inside of them. Like for example, pi is an example of floating point number. Now integers have different types of there are different types of integers based on um, like the size of number that you're trying to hold, right? So for example, byte is in byte you can hold a number from -128 to 127. There is short, there is int, and there is long. So you can just look at this chart. These are the basics. I shouldn't need to teach them because you guys are like engineering students. But I would still like to go through them, like just like recap, just like quickly just refresh your memory, I guess. So byte can store from -128 to 127. So let's see, let's create the program for that, right? So in Kotlin, how you create like in Java, like the syntax of Java, creating a variable in Java is something like this, right? So integer a equals to 10. So this is how you create a an integer in Java, like a thing in Java, like a variable in Java. But in Kotlin, you don't have to explicitly mention the type of the type of what is the type of variable that you're creating. So what you do, there's a keyword called variable or var. Then you type the name of variable a, right? And then you assign it a value. And there is also nothing called like in Java, you need to have these semicolons. But in Kotlin, you don't need to have them. So this is the syntax of creating a variable in Java, in Kotlin. But now the thing is, we need to create a byte, right? So to create a byte in Kotlin, you have this syntax, like you have the two dots, the colon. I guess it's called colon. It shows actually the colon inside the body, colon symbol. I need to see. Yeah, so it's called a colon. Okay, so a colon, and then you need to specify the type of that object. So this is how you create a byte or any object, right? So variable a, variable car speed is a byte which has value of 120, right? Okay, so this is how you create a, a variable basically, right? Now there is another thing, like in Java, you have a thing called final, right? Like when you have a value, a variable that you don't need changing. In Java, you write it like this, right? Final integer a equals to 10, right? But in Kotlin, you have a value val instead of a variable. So when you create a value, you're not able to change it. You're not able to assign anything after that. So this is how you create. So these are only two things. This is how you create objects in Kotlin. There are only two keywords, variable and value, var and val, var and val. Like I don't know how to like pronounce it. I just call it variable and value. So like if you see now, like let's change this, right? So like as I said, if you try to assign value, like if you try to change the value of car speed now, it should be fine, right? It should let you do that. Now I'll print car speed. So I'll run this now. So there shouldn't be any 140. Okay, so the thing is, as I mentioned you, like byte, we explicitly mentioned that this variable is a byte. And if you look in the right side, the maximum value a byte can have is 127. But what I assigned here is 140. So compiled through an error, the integer literal does not conform to the expected type byte. So now if I change this to 127 and now run this, it should change. Why is it showing hello world? So it should show the new value. But now let's go ahead and try to change the value here, right? Car equals to, let's make it 120, 127. Now let's see what happens. As you can see, it threw an error called value cannot be reassigned. So the difference between variable and value is that variable you can change, value you cannot change, right? So that is the basic difference. Now, if you wanted to create a short, all you have to do is create a short like that. And then, yeah, so it will change into short. So the first thing is, okay, so as I told you before, in Kotlin, you don't need to explicitly specify. So you can just keep it like this and it will still work because now Kotlin is automatically inferring that the car speed is a number, but by default, when you don't specify anything here, Kotlin still has to, know what is it, right? So what Kotlin does is by default, it uses integer type. So when you don't specify anything, this car speed will be an integer. Now, if you actually, okay, so there's a, let me actually see one thing. There's actually a way to get the type of something. Okay, so this is how you get it. Don't worry about this. I'm just trying to show you. So by default, as you can see, I didn't specify anything. So what I'll do is class speed, and the type is car speed. So what this does, like this like code snippet, it does is that it just only shows you the type of object that something is. So now if I run this code, function can be arguments plus, okay, I have to actually do this. Now it should work. So as you can see, when you don't explicitly specify the type of variable, if it is an integer, it will assume that it is an, if it is a number, it will assume that it is an integer. So you have to keep that in mind. And integer is like 32 bits and has minimum value of this and maximum value of this. I believe this should be same in Java. So this is just like the basics of Java, I would say. Right now, I'm just trying to show you how you can create variables and stuff like that. So the next thing is, now there's another thing, as I told you, by default, it assumes the variable is an integer. But what if, let's say, I copy this and add 1 inside of it, right? Now, what happens when you do this is that this value that is stored in car speed is bigger than an integer can have. So that is when what Kotlin does is it will automatically assign a value long to it. So it will automatically turn it inside into a long. What is it? What's it doing? 2147 483647. So I'm not sure what happened here. But then if the declared number is bigger than the integer, it will actually turn it into a long. But I'm not sure why it is showing integer, which is weird. Car speed. It is supposed to show long here because that is what the documentation states. Let me go through documentation actually. Kotlin docs. This is how you figure out what's wrong, most of the time. Let me go back. Variables, comments. So it doesn't specify. I'll actually find the answer for that and I'll get back to you because this is weird. This should automatically actually assume the value of long when something like this happens. Let's explicitly make it long. Okay, so it is actually, but the thing is, for some reason, it is okay. Yeah, now as you can see, the thing is, previously I was doing an operation like this. That is why it wasn't making it like turning it into long. But now, as this value is bigger than this max value, it will actually turn it into a long automatically. But yeah, so by default, when you declare a number without explicitly specifying what it is, Kotlin will assume, the compiler will assume that it is an integer. But if the number that you assigned is bigger than the maximum value of integer, it will automatically change it into a long. Then there are floating point types. Floating point types are just numbers with the dot in them, right? Like now, if I do this, it will turn it into a float. Double, I actually forgot. Double is the default type. As you can see here, the compiler infers every number with a fraction as a double and not a float. But if you wanted to make this a float, all you do is add f in front of it. Now it should change it to a float, right? So that is basically the two types. There's numbers. In numbers, there are integers and there are floating point types. Integers are numbers without the dot in them, like the full stop in them, like what is it called, decimal, without in decimal places. Whereas floating point types are the one which have decimals. Now in Java, most of the like for example, in Java, int is like this, short is like this, I believe, long is declared like this, and byte is declared like this, I think, or something like that. But in Kotlin, you need to remember that you declare all these types with a, because these are not simple types, these are complex objects, because you are able to do different operations on the numbers that you're declaring in Kotlin. Like in Java, if you declare an integer, let's say, right, int a equals to 10, right, in Java, you're not able to do like a dot toString, for example. I think right, in Java you're not able to do this, but in Kotlin you're able to do that because these are like complex classes. So you need to make sure that you are declaring it like this with a like the uppercase, the camel case type, like camel case styling, by like this. Otherwise, it will be an invalid statement. Then there's floats and there's doubles. As I said, to declare a number as float, you either add if f in front of the number, or what you do is you go ahead and float and declare it normally like this, right? By directly specifying that it is a float. Now if I run this, floating point does not confirm. Okay, I think I have to add f anyways in floats. Yeah, so the thing is I have to add this f in front of floats, like no matter what, right? Then there's double. This is the basics. Operations, I would say, like any language has them. Plus, minus, addition, like addition, subtraction, like these are like common operations that you can perform in any language. Multiplication, division, and modulus. Modulus, where's modulus? Percent. Modulus is just, it gives you a mod of number, I believe, like when you like divide the numbers, like it shows the, like, I don't know how to explain it. Then there are booleans. Booleans are true and false values. So the way you declare booleans is like this. Like a variable, this is a boolean. You can directly do like this because you don't need to explicitly specify. But if you did want to specify, you can do it like this, boolean. So this is the common syntax. Like think of also like try to think of true and false as zeros and ones, because there are these different operations, like logical operations, like or is this, I believe this is the same in Java, and is the same in Java. Negation is also the same in Java, right? So think of if you think of true and false as 0 and 1. So let's say true, like if you see in this example here, you're able to see that true, we have declared a true variable and a false variable, right? True is declared as true and false is declared as false. So when you do OR of true and false, it prints true. So OR is, I would say, basically an addition. Like, you just 1 plus 0 is 1, and is multiplication. So when you do 1 into 0, it will print 0, right? The negation just negates or like flips the value. So if it was false, if it was true, it will make it false. If it was false, it will make it true. Then we have characters. Characters are the individual the individual letters in a string, I would say. So they're represented by a keyword character, like variable. This is a char. It's a character. Let's say 1. So if I go here, change this, it should print out a character, right? That it is a character. So character go inside single quotes like this. Like this is not a string, right? So if this was a string, it will be like this. But characters use single quotes. So that is it. Those are the characters. There are different escape sequences, like these are common in all languages: /t, /b, /n, /t, like it inserts a tab, like tab meaning this. When you press tab on your keyboard, that's what it does. /b is a backspace. So now if I do 1 2 /b, it will only print 1, right? Because it will backspace, I believe. No, it didn't actually. I'll have to like see how it like works actually. And I never used like backspace /b before, but yeah, /n will insert a new line. So if I insert it between these two, 2 will be printed below 1, right? Then there is /r, like as you know, like escape sequences are pretty common, I would say. I don't need to explain. Like when you have to escape, like when you need to, like let's say, because this is a string, right? If you were to add a double quote directly, you won't be able to uh, like this will end right here, right? But if you wanted to add like a double quote in here, you have to escape it. So now this will print it with the brackets. Now what it will do is bracket like double quotes 1, new line 2, and then double quote, right? Yeah, so as you can see, it printed those double quotes. /$. Now the thing is, in Kotlin, as you saw here, this is, we'll see about this string concatenation later, but in Kotlin you have this dollar character which you use to add the variable directly inside your string. So like I'm printing the variable directly, right? So I have to use dollar character, but then you cannot use dollar directly. If you use dollar without the backspace, without the slash, with dollar, it will actually give some error, I believe. No, it didn't. I think it will give error in this one, but when you have to insert dollar, you have to actually escape it like this. Otherwise, it will give you an error, like when you're actually working on an app. Then there are strings. I believe string is already done. It is declared with variables like the object type string with capital S. You can also access the elements of the string with a for loop, right? So every the element in a string is accessed with I would say like as a character, like you can see in this code example. If I use a for loop also works with strings in Kotlin, right? All you have to do is for uh, the object name that you're trying to use, like the variable name you're trying to use, save the current, like in Java, like you have for loops like this, right? For int a equals to 0. I actually forgot the syntax for Java because I haven't been using Java a lot. Int a equals to 0. How is the Java for loop actually? For loop in Java. So let's see. Yeah, so for I equal to that. So it just basically saves the index. This is just an indexing loop. But in Kotlin, there are a lot of different types of for loops. This is just one of them. Think of this for loop as for each in Java. So for character, and this is a character, let's say, right? What it will do is it will print the letters one by one. So Ved has long and thick beard. If I replace this with /n, it should print it with like one by one. So what this for loop is doing is it's basically moving through the string one by one. We'll see loops later on. Actually, this was just an example of string, showing that string can actually be like iterated through Then there is something called string concatenation, string templates. Like this thing that you're seeing are string templates actually. So you know, yeah. So string templates and concatenation. So these things that I'm taking right now, they are just basics of any kind of language, right? When you are working on like different apps, different things, different products, you have to work on different languages, different, uh, you know. So don't think of when you think of when you think that you're trying to learn Kotlin, you're not actually learning Kotlin. You're just learning its syntax. In short, So right now I'm just going through the syntax of Kotlin, of different things in Kotlin. So yeah, so string templates and concatenation, this is the thing that I'm talking about. This is how you are able to print out the different things. In Java, I believe you use the plus sign, right? Like if you wanted to print this in Java, what you would do is use the variable name directly, then do plus, right? Plus will concatenate the string, and then you will do something like this. This is a character 10, for example. Uh, this is char, and then you will do something like this in Java at least, right? But in Kotlin, what you have to do is you have to use this dollar symbol. So I'll do print dollar. This is like you have to use it like this actually in between the brace, like uh, double quotation mark. So this is a car, this is a character. So what this did was it directly let you access this variable inside your string. You didn't have to do like plus and all that. Value is dollar. This is car, right? So what it will do is it will only print print it like this. So like, this is a car. Okay. So now it will only, okay, there's also for loop. I need to comment out. So yeah, so this is a character. Value is Ved has a long and thick beard, right? So this is how you access the variables in Kotlin inside a string. And then there is also a string template, print. So let's say there was a function, right? So I write a function in Kotlin. So this is how you create a function, like write a function in Kotlin. Function keyword, fun. Then you give the function name. Function, let's say I give the function name addition, right? Now it is like the syntax is the same, right? First you declare the function, like just like a variable. Then addition, the name of the function, then a semicolon. If you have, like this is the normal way of declaring function in Kotlin. This is the normal way. But what if you wanted to return a value? So what you have to do is use a semicolon, like a colon, and then return a value. In my case, it is an integer. Then I'll send the parameters to function variable a, 1, and variable 2. So these are the two variables, and then I'll return 1 plus 2, right? Simple. So I created an addition function. But what if I wanted to use this function inside the Kotlin inside the string. What if I wanted to directly evaluate this? So there is another type of string template where you have to first write dollar, right? Then opening curly brace and closing curly brace, something like this. So dollar, opening curly brace and closing curly brace, and inside that you can do whatever you want. So I'll call the addition function and 10, 5. Now what this will do is it will print 15. This is a char value is 15. That is what it will print. Type annotation is required. Okay, so I have to actually give the type annotation inside functions. So this needs to be declared explicitly that it is an integer variable on function parameter. Okay, there's another thing that you also need to remember. You cannot use variables as a function parameter. You need to have it as a value val because they don't need to be changed. They shouldn't be changeable. What? No, this is how we do it. So now it should be printing it 1 and 2. So you don't actually specify anything. Actually, I got confused because you have to specify the types when you're creating a new class in a constructor. So this is how you are able to directly evaluate things inside of a string. I think this in Java, this should be something like this, right? This is a character plus you should be able to do it like this 10, 5. If this was Java, but this is not Java. So in Kotlin, you have these two string concatenation techniques. All you do is use either dollar to access the variable, right? Right. So this is one way. Or if you wanted to do something more inside the string, for example, call a function, what you do is use dollar and then opening curly brace and closing curly brace. So you use this, and then inside of this, you can do whatever you want. This is a char plus, let's say, let's add, let's change it to like integer and 100. Now what I did was I just added 100 with 10 with 100. So what they should print is they should print 110. As you can see, it printed 110. So this is just a syntax, dollar, then opening curly brace and closing curly brace. So this will be used actually a lot when you are actually trying to print the output inside, let's say, a logcat, or if you want to format the strings in certain way inside your app. Like for example, let's say you had in WhatsApp, there is a first name and there is last name. What you have to do is you'll have to do it like this: first name plus dollar last name. If you wanted to print a string which combines both of these. So this is the string templates and concatenation. So let me clear out this. The thing is, I believe there should be a lot to process right now, because at least for like the students that are in college, because this is something that you learn when you actually work on projects. These things, like for example, I also do Swift. Like I also code in for iOS. I also do Flutter, a little bit of Flutter, and all of these different frameworks use different languages. So when you learn a new language, all you like when you like are someone like me who needs to switch between them, all you have to learn is the syntax of a particular language. The basics, they stay the same throughout. Like for example, in Swift, you use like slash and then this to be able to access variables. So you would use something like this in Swift, whereas inside in Kotlin you have to use this is char, right? So only like the syntax changes in most languages, but the basics, they stay the same. So yeah, if you guys have any questions up until now, you can ask them in chat, or you can unmute yourself and then ask them, because I have been going pretty fast because we don't actually have a lot of time. Because these are the things that you are actually taught. That was my first requirement before you took the course, that you should have knowledge of basics of programming, so that you should be able to learn this quickly, because Android itself is really, really huge. But yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask them inside the chat before I proceed further, because I believe next is arrays and lists and things like that. The fundamentals are the same for arrays and lists. Okay, so we don't have any questions. So the string concatenation is done. All you do is $, or there's another one where you put curly braces if you have complex operations to do. And then there are arrays. Now the thing is, in Kotlin you don't need to use arrays. I just forget about arrays. Let me actually turn on the light. Turn on like light in my room. Okay, so in Kotlin, don't use arrays. That is like the most simplest answer, but I'll just be taking them anyways, because you might need to use, like in Android, you actually have to use arrays when you're working with, I believe, the resources. But yes, generally, arrays outside of Android, don't use them. So they are basically like any other array in any other language. They are like fixed length. So when you create an object, you need to have fixed length of an array in mind. And this is declared just like an integer or something like that with an array array keyword. So where, let's say I was creating an array of names. This is how you would create. Variable names is an array which is equal to I don't think I need to give like an array here. I guess you can give, but there is a simple utility function in Kotlin called array of. So if you do an array of, let's say, with, who's it? So I see Gaurav in chat. Then I see Mahesh. What it will do is it will automatically create an array of strings in this case. But if you wanted to create an array of integers, you would create it something like this, 10, 12, 14. So it will automatically change it to an array of integers. As you can read in this one, use of arrays is not mostly advised in Kotlin because lists are actually more flexible than arrays. And whenever you create an array in Kotlin, the thing is you have to initialize it directly. I believe when you are creating custom objects with arrays, you have to initialize the array. Like in Java, when you create an array, right? They're simple. All you do is names, I believe, and there's something like this. Then you declare the size of it, then you are able to use for loop and then set the content of an array. Like for example, something of 0 equals to that, something of 1 is equal to that. But in Kotlin, that is not the case. You're not able to set the values outside of outside of the initialization. That is why the most of the time it is not advisable. But there is like different types of arrays in Kotlin, like int array. So these are actually created by the makers of Kotlin because it is not easy actually creating array, as I said before. So they already created some type of basic types of arrays: int array, float array. What else? Like these data types, int array, float array, or let's say long array. All of this you can create an array of because they are already created by for us by Kotlin. And then there are also factory functions like that Kotlin provides. So if you wanted to create an array of integer, right? So what you do is create an int array of, you use this, and then it will be, like I told you before, there is an array of method which lets you create an array of whatever you want, right? String, integer, or whatever. But then if you explicitly say that it is an array of integer, if you wanted to create an integer array only, what you would use is a function called int array of. And what this function will do is it will restrict the elements of array to be integer only. And this is true for most of the things. Like there's int array of, there's byte array of, there's float array of, and there's so on, like string array of. But yeah, so these are like the basics of creating arrays. Then there are type checks. So what happens in Android is there is something called like if you have created any kind of products, you would know that okay, if you have any questions up until now, you can just ask them. The thing is, I'm skipping on questions because it is uh, already 7 p.m. almost, and we actually started early today at 4:30. I believe 4:30 or something, 4:55. I don't remember. But yeah, it has actually been a while, and I'm still talking about all the things, so we don't actually have enough time. But if you have questions up until now about the uh, the declaration of variables and things like that, so yes, let's actually declare a variable. We have I'll actually give you guys 2 minutes. Let's say let's create an I'll give you an assignment actually. Create a variable called who's the latest in chat? Deepa, right? So create a variable which has name Deepa with type integer and assign value 10 to it. So how would you do that? So a variable which has name Deepa, which is of type integer and which has a value 10 assigned to it. So you would do variable var, then the variable name, which is Deepa, right? And it is an integer, as I said. So it is an integer with a colon in front of it. And then I said assign value 10 to it. So 10 is equal to 10. Easy, right? So like I just wanted to quickly make sure that you guys are aware. So now we'll move on to type checks and casts. So type checks is the thing where you are able to check the type of the class, right? So you have different types of classes. Like, yeah, an integer in Kotlin is a class. A float in Kotlin is a class. So when you want to check the type of something, you use these two keywords, which is. It is only one keyword actually called is. Um, so you use is. So let's say now Deepa, as I told you guys, is an integer, right? Deepa is not a person, Deepa is an integer. So if I was to go ahead and create an if statement. Now if statement is the same as Java, right? So if Deepa is float, right? Now is it a float? The question is it a float? No, right? So what I'll do is if Deepa is float, print uh, Deepa is float. Then what I'll do is I'll create I don't need else loop because we are just trying to see the usage of is variable. So now if Deepa is an integer, right, print Deepa is int. So now what should this print, right? Obviously Deepa is an integer, so this should print Deepa is int. So if I run this, float and int, what is the issue? If Deepa is float, incompatible types, float and int. That is weird. We're just type checking, right? So it shouldn't actually show this. Let's say, let's do something like that, right? It will still give me an error. That shouldn't happen actually. So I believe this is like, okay, I actually forgot the number one thing about Kotlin. Kotlin is type safe, I believe. So if this was, let's say, an integer, like any, so like any, think of any as an object that just think of any as an object. Like in Java, you have something like this, right? Integer Deepa. If you declare something as object in Java, it can take a form of any kind of value. So just like that in Kotlin, integer Deepa is any, right? So if I run this now, it should actually show Deepa is int because it is any, and then Kotlin compiler actually made it so that it is an integer. But yeah, is it just used to check the type of the class, like to compare whether the the two the object is equivalent of some other object, not equivalent of other object, but the type of object is equal to something. So if I just copy this code, for example, from here that I created yesterday, so now name is any, right? It is Vedprakash, and I assigned it a string. Now what I did was, if name is int, then it should print name is an int, right? But it is not an integer, it is a string. So what it did was it printed the thing that was written in else loop, which is name is something other than an integer, that is a string. If you see this down below, it says name is something other than int, that is string. Now, but if name is a string, then print name is type of string. So it printed name is type of string. Then I assigned name a value of 100. So what happened was, even though the name itself was string before, right? Like Kotlin here assumed that it is a string. but now I'm reassigning it. Now, like, remember, I'm not creating it like this, right? I'm assigning the already available name variable a new type of value, which is 100. So what is happening is here it changed from string. So as you can see, Kotlin changed it automatically to string. But then even after that, when I run the code and I changed it to 100, what Kotlin did was changed the type of variable, which was a string before, to integer. Because if you know, when you assign a value to a number value to a variable, what Kotlin does is it will automatically assume that the value is an integer. So what I did was, if its name is obviously not a string, so if name is not a string, then it will print name is not a string. Name is not a string. It's that easy. So yeah, so this type checks would be actually useful in Android development when you're trying to check the, like, for example, in WhatsApp, in Facebook, let's say, when you scroll through a Facebook feed, there are different types of posts, right? They can be an image post, they can be a poll, let's say, there can be a video, right? And all of these different types of things that you're seeing has a different type of object associated with it, right? So an image type of post will have info, or the object will contain the link of an image, for example. The video type of object will contain the link to the feed of the video, and maybe the likes in the video and stuff like that. Whereas poll will have a different object. So this type checking is used when the server sends different type of data. What you do is you convert that data into different type of objects, and you have to check whether these objects, they're of certain types. So if the data received from server is of type, let's say, post, right? What Facebook ad will do is, if data is post, right? Then render the type of post, right? Like, it's simple to understand, to be honest. Like, it's just type checking. You just check the type of something. Then there are condition and loops. If you have any questions, actually, up until now, we have like 9 minutes with us. So if you have any questions, you can either unmute yourself, or you can type it in the chat. I'm still looking through the chat. Uh, so there are also condition and loops. We just saw if and else expression. So if 10 is greater than 5, do this, else do that. This is the basics of programming. When is the equivalent of switch case. So think of when, as switch, right? So in Java you have switch whatever a, then you write something like this. If a is, let's say, 1, then I believe this is the syntax in Java. There's break, I think. You use break, right? I think it is something like this. But in Kotlin, you have when instead of that. So let's create a small program. Value a equals to 10, right? When a is, let's say, now I'll actually combine the two. Like, don't look at this program in the left. I'll actually combine the when expression and the is that we saw, the type check thing. So what I'll do is, when a is an integer, then print. So this is how the syntax of Kotlin is. There is no break, right? If it is a float, then print print a is int, print a is float, else a is something else, right? So this is the basic syntax of when. You don't need to have, I believe, else loop here, because I think it gives you a warning, but I think your app will still compile if it doesn't have else loop. But it's still good practice to handle the else condition in apps. So yeah, so now when I run this program, so this is the basic syntax. When the brackets a is integer, for example, right? It will print an int. Now when I run this app, it will print, I'm not sure why this is doing this right now, because this should actually 100% work. Let me run this like this. Okay, yeah, so now when it is any, it will do it like this. A is an integer, a is a float. So now if I do it like this, 10f, this will print a is a float. Now if I make it a string, this just changed into string. It will go into else loop, and then it will print a is something else.
The reason
this is basically the when loop. The syntax of when loop is like this: when, then you open the bracket, the thing that you are using for the case, right? So in this case, I'll write a, right? In this case, a. When a is, let's say, you don't need to use is case in this one. When a is, let's say, 1, then you have, this is the thing that you write here is the thing that you're comparing it with, right? When a is 1, print a is 1, but if it is 10, print a is 10. So now it should actually print 10. As you can see, it printed 10. So the previous example, I was using is statement to check the type of it, and right now I'm directly comparing the value. Now there's no actually like need to use when loops, because when is basically a fancy way to, I would say, replace if, right? If else cases. So if a equal to 1, then it will print a, something like that, right? So when you actually work with a language like this, yeah, so when is just, I would say, a fancy if else statement. So we did with when. So yeah, so the thing is you have to memorize all of these things. But when you actually code in Android, you will be able to actually do this without any efforts, you know. And then there are for loops. Now for loop can iterate between, okay, we actually only have 4 minutes. So I believe tomorrow I'll start. The thing is, I wanted to I wanted to add more stuff here, but then I knew the time won't be enough with us to cover all of this stuff. So yeah, so for loop in Kotlin iterates over anything that provides an iterator. As I said previously, you are able to iterate with string because even string provides you with an iterator. So what I'll do is I'll create a list of items. For example, here I created a list of items which has like, don't worry about this apply and all of this right now, because this is something that I'll be teaching like way later on when we are creating apps. Yeah, Bhagwat, that's what I said. When statement is similar to switch. It's just switch statement. So yeah. So right now I created an array list of strings, And then this apply is used when you want to initialize the variable, like, when you don't want to create, like, access it using, like, I can create something like this, right? Like, I don't have to use apply here. I can directly do list of items dot add, but then apply just makes it easy. This is why I like Kotlin a lot. So what I did was I created a list, value list of items, which is of type array list of strings, and then I added Vedprakash is a handsome guy. And then what I'm doing is, since lists in Kotlin provide an iterator, I'm using the for loop to iterate between the items. So item will store the current value in the loop. So right now there's like in this one, you cannot get the index of the item. So for item in list of items, print item, right? And now if I run this, what it will do is it will just print Vedprakash is a handsome guy without any spaces. It will just, yeah, Vedprakash is a handsome guy without any spaces. But now if I concatenate this using the previous concepts that we learned with a dollar symbol, and then if I add a space afterwards, it will print it properly. Vedprakash is a handsome guy. So yeah, so all we did here was create a list of items. For loop, there are different types of for loops actually in Kotlin. Not just this one. This is like a for each. So for each item in list of items, do this. This will be the value. So this can be, let's say, item at index. Let's say there's no index in this one actually. But this item stores the value of the current value that is stored inside a list. It is like the simplest explanation I can think of. Then to iterate over the range of numbers, what you do is for index, like index, or what you can use any variable here in, let's say you want to iterate 100 times, right? So start at 1, end at 100, and then print dollar index. And then I'll actually print it on new line with /n. So what this will do is it will start at 1, end at 100. Yeah, as you can see, it started at 1 and ended at 100. So this is how you iterate with index on numbers. Then there is another for loop where you are able to skip or step down or step up, things like that. So let's say for I in, let's say I started 100, right? So I'll remove this loop. I'll remove this. If I wanted to go from 100 to 0 with, let's say, 5 steps, right? So it will print 100, 95, 90. What you will do is from 100, for I in 100, so start at 100. Then I need it down to, there's also up to, I think, right? So down to, let's say I need to go to 0. And then I need to use step size of, let's say, 5. What I'll do is I'll print $I and /n. Now what this will print is from 100 to 0 with 5 steps in between. So like 100, 95, 90, 85 up until 0. Right, so this is another way of writing a for loop. The thing is, you have to actually find out the particular loop that you're trying to use, because as I said, Kotlin has a lot of types of loops. So, as I said, like, let me go back to the one where I had list of items. So there's also something called list of items dot with index, I believe, with index or something like that. There's actually a function that I don't remember right now. because there's a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of loops. So if you wanted to loop through a list with the with index also, like if you also wanted the access to the index of the current item, then you use the, let me see, iterate over a list in Kotlin with index. So this is how you do that for each index. So that is the loop. So what you do is list of items dot for each indexed. So what this will do, this is like a lambda function. Like that is like a completely different topic, right? So first one in this one will be index and another one will be item, I believe. So this is how you write lambda functions. Like we don't actually have enough time because we are already over like 7 p.m. If I had like the freedom to do lectures forever, I would like do them. But yeah, so what you do is print dollar index, then dollar item. Now if you do this, it will actually give you an index. Must have an iterator method expecting an expression collection list of items. That is weird. For loop range must have an iterator method. So does ArrayList not have an iterator? Because in Android actually it works. Okay, this is the issue, not our previous one. Okay, now it should run. But yeah, so as you can see, it is giving me the index and the item, right? So yeah, there's different types of for loops, and you will actually have to search for a particular one when you're actually programming the app. And then there are functions, as I said before. In Java, you have functions, you declare functions like this. Integer, the return type. This is the Java syntax, I believe. Integer addition, then the parameters, integer A, integer B, and then you return A plus B. So this is how you write functions in Java. But if you wanted to do this in Kotlin, what you would do is you first of all you write a keyword function, fun, right, function, then the name of the function, right, name of the function, then the parameters that you want to send to that function. So parameter A will be first parameter. So you don't actually need to declare value or variable in Kotlin. So A will be, let's say, an integer, then the type of the variable that it's expecting, then B, which is also an integer, then what it is returning, like this with a colon, and then an integer, and then you open and close the brackets and return A plus B. So this is the basic syntax. Now the thing is, in Kotlin you can also use the semicolons if you prefer that, but most of the time the semicolons will be declared ignored in Kotlin. Function public function addition. Okay, so there's already this addition function below. That is why it's not running. But yeah, so this is how we declare function basically in Kotlin. First, the fun keyword function, then the name of function, then the variable name, then the parameters that you're expecting. The parameters will have variable name along with the type of variable, and then it is returning then the return type after the parameters are completed, and then you can write the function the usual way. And then in class, there's also classes and everything that I want to take, but then I thought I should actually use Kotlin documentation directly for that. So I believe classes would be the last thing that I would take. Let me go back. Let me zoom this. Concepts, platforms, basic syntax, then collections. Okay, so classes and objects. So in Kotlin, you don't have the new keyword like Java has. So to create a class, all you do is write the variable class, then the class name, let's say car, right? Then you open and close brackets. Now, if you wanted this class to have the functionality of some, like, if you wanted to extend this class, what you do is you give the colon, and then if it is, let's say, you know, so let me actually do this. Bugatti, right? So it is a type of car. So if you wanted to extend the functionality of Bugatti with car, okay, car, then what you have to do is you have to extend it like this. I believe that is the correct syntax. The thing is, when you actually code like this, you don't actually, like, I'm so much used to coding in Studio and like creating. Yeah, so this is the correct syntax. Where's that? But yeah, so this is the syntax. Creating a car object. So this will automatically take the property of car. So if proper car had, let's say, variable speed, which is an int, it will just take it, like, these are the basics. I'm just trying to teach syntax here to you guys. So Bugatti is a type of car. So yeah, so this is the syntax of class class Bugatti. Then the classes and interfaces. Now, if this was actually implementing interfaces, right, what you do is you just give it a semicolon and then write the name of interface directly. So let's say it was implementing the interfaces are the same in Kotlin, just like Java. Interface, uh, let's say I'm using, I get an interface called Android. So all you do is use an interface like this. You give comma and then use Android. So yeah, this is how you create classes in Kotlin. There's also constructors and whatnot. We are already 15 minutes over 7 p.m. actually, which is nuts because this is the first time I'm doing this. Like I'm actually trying to like lecture people. But yeah, and seeing that there's still 103 people that haven't left makes me feel good that at least there's people that are interested in knowing about Kotlin itself. But yes, I'm not going to go deep right now into constructors and whatnot. We'll actually, when we actually code the apps, we'll actually see what constructors are, how you can create these classes, how you can extend those classes, how you can extend the function, the existing classes with extensions, and like there's a lot of things. 4 days I would say are not enough to teach all of this. I'm trying my best to do that actually. But yeah, so that is how you create the classes. And yeah, you just I believe this is the most that you would need for Android development. Let me see if there's anything else. There's inheritance, properties. Yeah, so I think I have covered most of the things, the basic things that you will need to get started with Android. So if you have any questions right now about anything that you have seen or listened up to now, just ask me and I'll be happy to answer them. And I would actually end this after your questions. So if you don't have any questions, you can, I don't know, if you don't have any questions, don't type them, I guess. But if you do have them, you can unmute yourself actually and then ask them directly because it's already like 7:15. But yes, let me just know if you have anything. There's also other things that I left actually. Null safety. This is an important one, and I'll actually be teaching this null safety when because that's the big difference between Java and Kotlin. That Kotlin is actually null safe, I would say, but if you are stupid enough, you can still get null pointer exception. But yeah, if you have any questions, then just let me know. Otherwise, I believe that would be it for today. And tomorrow I'll be actually will actually start coding the apps directly. I won't be like my plan was to go through all of this one by one. Like first I'll teach this, and then I'll take one day for this. But then now after seeing how much time it takes to actually do all of this, I don't think there's enough time with us. Like 4 days aren't enough. But yeah, tomorrow we'll directly start with the contacts clone, and in that we'll learn about these things directly, like work manager, performance, and power, and all of that. But yeah, uh, meeting I believe can end anytime now. I don't think there's anything left for today. But yes, I believe Pratik, if
Okay.
you are listening, you can just let me
Yes,
know
yes, 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 yes,
what
yes, yes, yes.
how you plan on ending this,
Yes,
and
yes,
if
yes.
you had any
Hello.
like plans
Okay. Am I
while
audible?
ending it and stuff like that.
Hello.
Let me actually call him. I don't know if he's still here.
Yes, 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 yes.
Maybe he got
Yes, you
bored.
are audible.
Let me see.
Vaibhavi, Vaibhavi, Vaibhavi.
Yes, I'm there.
Bol.
Okay. If anyone has any doubts, can put their
Hello.
questions on the chat box.
कसं करायचं एंड वगैरे काय झालंय माझं चालेल.
If anyone having any questions,
So yeah, the anchor will end the today's, I believe,
session.
seminar it is.
Yes. Am I audible now? Hello.
Feedback link. I believe. Let me actually see. Yeah, I actually need feedback, so I can see what. This is my first time actually. So the thing is, hello.
Hello.
The feedback link
yes.
वगैरे आहे तुझ्याकडे?
Yes. मी share करतो लगेच.
बरं. Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, this is my first time doing this actually. I haven't like taught students before, so this was actually fast. I know that this is fast. I actually tried to cover as many things as possible in as much less in as much time that I was given. But yeah, this is like a lot of things that you have to learn. But yeah, I do know that this is fast, and I knew that it was going to be fast because I actually asked for a lot more time before we started things. But the feedback form is in chat right now. I'll see control C this. I'll spam the link. Yeah, if you have any feedback, just give it to me, and I'll do my best to improve on this whatever you learned today tomorrow. But yeah, you can, I believe, leave after you give feedback.
Yes. Am I
Okay.
audible?
Everyone. Yes. Audible.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for
The anchor, I
having a
believe, is
great
going
start
to end the
for
seminar.
the workshop.
So I'm just waiting on.
I think I'm
on
not
them.
audible.
Yes, you are audible. Vaibhavi, you are audible. Everyone should compulsory fill that feedback form. Okay.
Let's see.
All the participants, thank you for being there till the end of the session.
So I'll actually stop sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Today we just quickly went through Kotlin and the basics of Studio. I'll stop sharing the screen now, and the anchor should take it from there.
Hello, sir.
Kindly fill the feedback form given in the chat box, and tomorrow we'll start sharp at 5 p.m.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, if you have any doubts, you can put them in the chat box. Yes, Rahane, Sachin, you can put that in the chat box. I think sir
Yes.
is not able to hear us.
I'll also mute myself now. Let's hope we see some of you guys tomorrow too, because
Yes,
the
thank you.
interesting part actually starts tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
All the app development and stuff like that.
Thank you, everyone. You can leave now. Okay. Having the chat box.
Yes, the recordings will be shared to you soon. Don't worry about that. Fill the feedback form to avail the certificate for the 5 days. Now I declare the session is over. Everyone can leave now. Thank you so much for joining.